Hello and welcome to Gadget First. Today we've got the Asus Eee Pad transformer to review. Let's get straight in with the external features. We've got a nice large 10.1 inch touchscreen across the front here and a 1.3 megapixel camera and the Asus logo and quite thick bezels on the edge here. On the right hand side we've got a micro SD card slot here, a mini HDMI slot and a 3.5mm jack. On the left we've got volume rockers and the power button. On the bottom they've got their sort of charger, it's not a standardised one, and stereo speakers. And on the back they've got a 5 megapixel camera, Asus logo and this really nice finish, which makes it really nice to hold in the hand. Just to note, it's got an IPS screen which allows for better viewing angles as well. Okay, so on to the technical specifications of the tablet. It's got a 1GHz dual-core Tegra 2 chip processor, 1GB of RAM, a 1280 by 800 screen res, and it supports BG and N Wi-Fi. So that basically means that it will support all the modern routers. Okay, so when you first unlock the device, obviously it's running Android Honeycomb 3.0. It's actually running 3.1. So obviously you've got your standard sort of Honeycomb home screen, app drawer. App drawer is still a little bit sort of laggy when you open it up. As you can see, it's not completely silky smooth. But once you're actually in it, everything runs fine. It's now called Shop instead of just having the icon up there. But you know, little changes like that don't really make a difference. That's just about it for sort of the main user interface really. If you want more in depth on Honeycomb, take a look at the Zoom review as it runs the same operating system. Okay, so multitasking on the original 3.0, not 3.1, this sort of multitasking drawer wasn't scrollable. Of course, on the 3.1 update you get this really nice scrolling feature so that you can have more than just sort of the original 5 or 6 apps that you get open. I think you can have as many as you'd like to. Sort of all piling up there, and then all you do is you just tap on an app and then it opens it up straight away, and it will take you to the exact point that you left the app at as well, so it's full multitasking support. Let's take a look at the few of the apps on here. So let's go straight to the music app first of all. As you can see, it's got a really nice sort of user interface. With this nice scrolling feature to scroll between all your albums and things. These are not mine, preloaded by the way. So if for example I went onto one, it takes me to a track list of all the ones in their album. So let's go on it and it plays it for you. That's at max volume. Classic orchestra, very nice. Of course you've got your standard buttons, which you know, they're nicely spaced apart, so they're easy to sort of reach to in between. And when you go home, it carries on playing it, and you've got this nice feature down here, like quick controls, where you can like pause it, or rewind to another song, or fast forward, which is really nice. Okay, so let's have a look at the email application, the stock email application. As you can see, this is your original setup screen when you first go to set up your emails. Let's take this as a chance to show off the keyboard, stock keyboard. It may look really nice, your standard sort of QWERTY keyboard, not standard Honeycomb by the way, with quite nice numbers across the top. It's actually not the nicest to use at all. It doesn't really support multi-touch, sort of you try to touch more than one thing at once if you're a type faster, and doesn't always work as you plan out. So you often end up missing out letters, or words don't end up making sense. But you know, other than that, it's got sort of your standard shortcuts and everything, so @ or .com since I'm in an email address box. All my symbols, things like that. So overall it's not too bad a sort of keyboard, but you know, I personally prefer the standard Honeycomb one. Elsewhere in the sort of email app, you can do an a manual setup, or you can let it do it automatically. Both ways work, but you know, it depends what type of account you have. Let's move on to web browsing. Again, web browsing on, well, any honeycomb device is obviously really nice. Go on to the standard browser here. You get the sort of Google Chrome styled tab browsing across the top, and since it's a tablet, you can afford to have multiple tabs open at the top. The device doesn't seem to run any slower when you have more than one or more than any amount of tabs open. So if I go on to, as you can see, Play here, and BBC, two BBC websites, which are quite intensive, mobile version there. As you can see, it doesn't seem to run much slower. All seems to run fairly nice. Also, Asus themselves, not Honeycomb, have included this scrolling bar, so you just drag it down instead of using your finger to sort of push it down like that. Either way, it's fine. There's also a setting called Quick Controls. If I enable this, it takes out all your sort of tabbed browsing and things, and it gives a complete full screen overview. And just to get to your controls, you slide out from either the right or the left or the right, and it gives you these controls. So obviously you can go forward or back, bookmarks and things, a new tab, view all your tabs and refreshing, things like that. So if I just go on to, for example, if I just refresh it, as you can see, loading bar across the top. Nice and fast tab browsing. It's just what you expect from Honeycomb, really. Okay, let's just take a look at overall smoothness. Personal preference is without the quick controls, so I'll just change that back. On an intensive sort of BBC website then, smoothness, it's actually really nice. It's a tiny little bit jittery when you're sort of pinching to zoom, but you know, you can't get perfection all the time. It is quite an intensive website. Obviously flash support and things. Scrolling, flick to scroll, pinch to zoom, it's all perfectly nice. It's sort of almost your ideal web browsing sort of facility, really. Tab browsing, smooth browsing, flash support, that's all you really need, to be honest. Okay, let's take a look at the camera on this device then. Let's go home. By the way, these aren't standard Honeycomb Android quick controls down here. They're Asus, what Asus have done. But you know, that's fine. So if you go into apps and onto the camera, user interface first, you get sort of quite a standard Android thing. You can click down here to view thumbnails, to view your photos, all the things that you've took, and it will come up with more along the bottom here when you've taken more. You get obviously your shutter button, settings, colour effect, and sort of white balance and all that sort of thing. Zoom, you can also use the front camera there, as you can see the camera and me just down there. Change it back, and obviously just slide across if you want to go onto video camera. So let's just take a few snaps over. If we take a look over here, hold it still and take a picture there. Oh sorry, no flash on the camera, by the way. Standard. If you zoom in, we'll zoom in fully. 8 times digital zoom. As you can see, I'm not even going to bother taking a picture. Quality rapidly decreases the more you go in, but you know, it's just sort of a standard zoom, digital zoom, sorry. So if I just take a couple more there, it doesn't seem to blur them. Quality seems okay for the lighting conditions we're currently in. If I just bring it back down there, and we'll just take a look at some of the pictures that we've taken. Obviously there, what I was saying about the more pictures you take, the more appear. Again, absolutely super smooth, pinching to zoom in, scrolling across. Really, really nice. Picture quality for a 5 megapixel camera on a tablet, it's really nice. It's perfect, really. That's sort of just about it for the camera application, really. Okay, let's do a few comparisons. Let's do with the iPad 2 that we've got here. The iPad 2, just for the record, is 1024 by 600 screen res. Also, obviously, got IPS screen IPS screen technology. 9.7 inches is almost half an inch smaller than the honeycomb tablets. But the aspect ratio is I much prefer it on the honeycomb tablets, as when you're watching movies and things, it discourages sort of letterboxing and things like that. Okay, let's do a few photo comparisons then. They're both on, their screen brightness is up full. So if we both go and view the same video, same photo, I just go into gallery. As you can see, the iPad is so much nicer. Not so much nicer, but just nicer. The colours are more vivid. It's not necessarily more sharp. If you look at the greens, for instance, it almost seems more sharp, and they're much more bright. If we take a little zoom in, obviously smoothness is the same. Apple better, if anything. Colours, it's pretty close, I have to say, but the iPad might just win over, to be honest. Almost the same screen technology, it's not too far off between them. There you go. Overall, it's not too bad on both of them, to be honest, on that picture. As a conclusion on here, the imaging is more saturated on the iPad, we've come to a decision of, and you also get a little bit of screen bleed on some of the edges when viewing sort of anything on the honeycomb tablet on the ePad transformer as well. Also, just to note, the screen res is in fact better on the ePad transformer, however, so videos will probably look better on here, just to take note. If we just take the iPad out of the equation now, last few things, build quality on here, it's actually not that great, to be honest. I don't know if you can see it, but you're seeing various bubbles and things, and screen bleeds down the bottom. It's got sort of white bubbles and things. It doesn't seem to creak too much, although this is probably just me being rather vicious with it. But you can almost feel the back sort of digging in on the back of the tablet. But you know, it's sort of all plasticky. You know, it doesn't feel sort of too tacky, but it is plastic on the back. But overall, it's not too bad. Battery life on this is actually pretty amazing, really. I've had it for sort of a few weeks now, and I haven't had to charge it much at all. Sort of 3 or 4 times with medium to heavy usage. I don't always have the screen brightness up full. I have it on auto, just because of where sort of my office and my room is situated. Just to round up the whole review, we're going to give it sort of a 7 out of 10, to be honest. It's got some brilliant features like Honeycomb 3.1, smoothness and web browsing is just generally a pleasure to use. But then you get sort of to the bad things like the build quality and sort of the colours in the actual screen itself. Thanks for watching Gadget First, and be sure to check back soon when we've got the Sony Ericsson Xperia Arc and the Xperia Play.